Hi everyone, welcome to Sketching with Christine. Today we are going to sketch our cactus. So here is a series of 3 different cacti. You can repeat any of these to create a different composition, or you can keep it to these 3. So I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process of these 3, and then you can modify and play and add whatever you want. Okay? So we're going to first start with laying out our composition, so how things are going to lay. So I'm drawing portrait, so up and down, and I'm going to find half, and I'm going to skip down about an inch below half, and I'm just going to try and draw a line as straight as you can. Mine is a little wobbly today. As straight as you can, and that's going to be just a guide for us to draw our flower pots. Okay, so it can be a floor, it can be a deck, it can be the grass, whatever. All right, so we're gonna split our page into 3 so that we can create our 3 main flower pots. So I'm going to go with a tall plant, a short plant, and another tall plant. Again, you can change that based on how you feel. So I'm going to start with my middle plant, my shorter plant, just to give the space so we can put it equally on each side. So I'm going to start with a flower pot below the horizon line, and this one is going to be a U shape. Okay, so U with sort of a flat bottom. All right. So that's the basic shape. So I'm just sketching things out right now, getting an idea of where things are going to lay. So I've drawn my U shape and I've added a flatter bottom. And now I'm going to add the top circle. It's more of a flat oval, okay, for the opening. Flat oval, nice and round. Okay, you can go a few times. Most of this, the back one is going to be hidden anyway by our actual cactus, but for the purpose of now and planning out, that's where we're going to leave it. My next one is going to go over to the left, and it's going to actually go into the horizon line and into the background. So half of it's going to be down, half of it's going to be up. So I'm going to start with a line, and it has a slight angle and about half an inch above the horizon line and half an inch below the horizon line. And do the same thing on the other side. You can determine how wide your flower pot's going to be. I'm going to have it just coming to the edge of my U-shaped flower pot. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to round out the bottom, a nice slight curve, and I'm going to mimic this curve up here at the top. Up here at the top. On each side here, I'm going to go out just a little, like ½ centimeter, because what I want to create is a parallel line with an oval shape around it. Okay, and again, you're just kind of sketching things out, so don't worry too much about pressing too hard. And you'll notice your sides here are open, so you want to close them out. Okay, just erase those little spots. All right, so you can actually erase the horizon line that you have in here because we don't have to worry about that. We want to shade that in a little later. So I'm not going to start my plant yet. I'm going to go to my very last cactus flower pot. This time I'm going to make it a little smaller than this one without the lip on the top. Okay, so about the same distance and certainly the same angle. So angle down on both sides, and I do want it to be a little smaller, so I'm going to erase that. Bottom though is the same, rounded out the bottom, and you're going to mimic the same curve at the top here, and you're going to erase that horizon line. And you can bring that oval shape around. Again, some of it's going to be erased anyway later. So there's my 3 flower pots. They are different sizes, just like in my original. Different sizes, just to create some unique shapes. All right, so now we are going to start the actual cactus themselves. The first one, we're going to start left to right. First one is going to be your traditional cacti that you see in westerns or in movies. The body with the two arms. Okay, that's going to be our first one. And then we'll move on to our other two unique ones. So let's start with this body of the cactus. So body of the cactus is just a very long rectangular shape with a round top. You can decide how big you want it. Remember, you only have this wide to go with, but the arms can stick out further. But you do want to make them pretty substantial. So you're going to start with your line. You're going to go up and around, and you're just sketching it out, nothing too defined. Coming back down. I don't go all the way down because I want to keep this area in here for the soil. Alrighty, so there we go. Alrighty, and from there we can start drawing the arms. Excuse me. So I'm going to start using a line, and then I'm going to outline that line to create the arm. Losing my voice. So I'm going to start inside of the body of my cacti. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to do almost like a letter J. Okay, like the letter J. So see how it's not as rounded at the bottom as a letter J, but certainly very similar to it. On the end of the J, we're going to put a long curved line, like a long C, and then we're going to outline the whole thing following that line, and I'm giving it about a 1/2 centimeter space between the current line that I'm doing, the outline, and that inside line. I'm not going to erase this inside line because I'm going to use it actually as part of my texture. So I'm going to move all the way, put it all the way to the top. I am going to erase the inside where you can see the body. So I erase that. And then I'm going to start putting a few more lines. So I'm probably going to fit one line on this side and another line on the other side. Okay, so there's my 3 lines for texture. We'll come back and play with those in a little bit. Now I want to put my second arm, and it's going to be down lower, and instead of going into the body, it starts on the outside of the body, and I use a line again, and we're now going with that curve. So this time we can play with the letter L, and it's like a curved L. Okay, so I've put it in, and then I'm going to outline again about a 1/2 centimeter all the way around, curve the top, and then come back down. Push that line right to the top, and then I can probably put one line on one side of it and another line on the other. Okay, so there is the arms to my cactus. Now the cactus itself also has lines, so I'm going to start with a center line, and they're all going to meet down in the soil, and I'm probably going to be able to fit 2 more lines in here. This time these lines are slightly curved like this line here, just not as dramatic. So very lightly curving to the inside, and then one more to the inside. I'm just going to outline this guy so he follows suit. So there's some curved lines going to the left, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right. So take your time doing this. Stop at that arm, and then you can keep going. And then that's my last one. There we go. So there's the cactus. Before I start shading the cactus, I'm going to add the soil. So I'm just adding some curved lines inside my flower pot, and I'm going to color inside that area right up against my cactus, color that in with some darkness. Okay. Dark, dark, dark. Dark, dark, dark. There we go. Alrighty, so now the fun part, shading our cactus, and then we'll add the little pricklies in a few minutes. So shading, the sun is over here, so we're actually going to shade the middle of our cacti. Using the side of my pencil, I'm going to lightly shade, trying not to lose those lines that I drew. Now we can always go back and color them in over again. So I'm putting shadow in the center area, and I will blend that together, and I'm going to push that shading into the rest of my cactus. So blend and then push using all my fingers. If you haven't taken a class with me, I tend to use my fingers for blending. They're free, they're right there. I like being messy, I guess. But if you have access to paper towel, not toothpick, Q-tip, things like that, then that's fine. So you noticed I went outside of my cactus, so I just erased that. Now I did lose a little bit of my lines when I was blending, so I just go back and go over those lines again, nice and dark. Take your time. And the outline too, don't forget the outline. While we're shading as well, we have the casted shadow from this arm. It's shading down under the cactus here. So I am going to add a little bit of shading down into the side of my cactus. Okay, not too much. I'm going to shade under this arm here. Okay, just like I did over here. Shade on the side and under, and then with my finger I'm going to blend that up into the cactus and shade it a little darker if you are not happy with that. And you can do the same thing over here. Shade under and then up just the side a little bit, and with your finger push some of that lead into the rest of your cacti. Now for the fun part, your little pricklies. So the pricklies on here are done with just the letter X. So all along, I'm going to go from left to right, all along the outside of your cactus, the contour line, you are going to draw these little X's. And then down each line, you are also going to draw these little X's. And you can space them out so they're not sitting on top of each other. You can have them kind of spaced equally throughout. It's completely up to you. Don't forget to put some on the top though. And just keep going with these little X's. So there's my first row of X's. Now the big row, the X's are still the same size, they're little, and I'm using the tip of my pencil this time, not the side of my pencil, so that they're nice and sharp, literally. And I'm just measuring, going between both. I mean, if you skip a little bit, that's okay. And you'll get into a groove of drawing your X's. Keep going. And keep going down the center now. Careful with some of your X's. Sometimes I you know, create some weird patterns or weird lines because I'm trying to go too fast. And keep it on the line. Skip over that arm. And the last bit on the body, the outline. Skip over the arm again. Make sure you go all the way down. And now my last arm all the way around and down each line. And again, try and space it as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect or even or anything. You just kind of eyeball it. But don't forget the top. And one more row. And there we go. Boom. Done. So there is my cactus. You can always go back to and add a little bit of shading in between each one. Okay, again, that just adds a little more texture in your cactus, gives it a little more body. Now we're going to work on the flower pot. So the flower pot, you want to shade in the center. Same with your cactus here, you want to shade in the center. So I'm just going to shade especially underneath this little lip here, because this little lip will cast a little shadow. Okay, and your shadow comes all the way down. And I would go over a few times in the center to make it nice and dark. And then as you go to the side, you get lighter and lighter, so you lift your pencil a little more. And then with your trusty blending tools, you're gonna blend so that it kind of gradually forms that three-dimensional look. So again, you might have to go back, and you should have a groove in your pencil if you've been shading for a bit. Okay, find that groove. You can go back and add more darkness, so another layer if you feel you haven't got it as dark as you want, okay? Especially under that lip, that is definitely darker because it creates this casted shadow. And you could spend lots of time shading until you're very happy with it. Okay, and then you can just go back and blend. And like I said, switch fingers. There's oils in your fingers that allow you to really blend objects together, and they make them look very realistic. So I'm outlining now because I want to capture the outside of that pot. And then I'm also going to just smudge a little bit and add a little bit of shadow to the front of this pot, and then outline it. Outline it on the bottom. And then I just kind of rub my finger around and finish darkening up the soil if you didn't. Okay, so there is my first flower pot. I will add some shadow to the ground after we're all done. Okay, so now let's go to our second. Okay, this guy is going to be more of a puff ball. Okay, he's a nice rounded, kind of oval cacti with a nice little flower on top. Still has little X's, but this time the pattern is stripes. So that's what we're going to create now. So I'm going to do my oval shape coming out of my flower pot. Again, you can decide how big and how high that cactus goes. So I just kind of went right above that horizon line, and I'm going to erase that flower pot back and the horizon line. So it's a nice, almost like a nice egg sitting in this lovely flower pot. Okay. So from there, you're going to add the stripes, and the stripes are going to go in a slight curve all the way across. And there's an easy way to space them out. We're going to just use our pencil to space them out. So the first line starts on your left, and then it goes over about a ½ centimeter. So if you want, you can actually put your lead, your pencil lead in between, and then you can kind of eyeball where the next one's going to go, or put your finger on it or whatever. Okay, so they should almost be the same width as this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across my whole entire cactus and draw just these little dots across so that they're my guide. Okay, so because this is about center. So my next one's going to go over about here. And I mean, they don't have to be perfect. If you're eyeballing them, then that's fine. If not, just like I said, put your pencil lead in between each one, and you'll know that they're fairly the same. And that's split in half. There we go. From there, you can actually draw your curved lines. So they curve, and I'll show you the original again. They curve like a macaroni noodle, or like the letter C for Christine. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to come down and curve where I hit that line, that dot, and then right down to the bottom. So it's very similar to the curve of my original drawing, my original outline. Okay, so the next one, I skip over to the top, and then I come down, hit that dot, and then out the bottom. Okay, so there's my second, and so on. And go nice and slow so that they do appear to be fairly equal. Okay. They're still the same width. Still the same width. They are getting shorter because I'm coming to the other side here. But they're still the same width. Okay. Outline that. Now the fun part. Now we get to color in every other one. The dark ones are going to be the shadow, so meaning they're on the inside, and the light ones, they're not going to be white. We're going to rub them so that they're a little gray. The outside ones, the lighter ones, they're going to be the ones that are closest to us, and they also have the prickly on them. So the first guy here is going to be white, so that means this one here, and I found my groove from when I was shading earlier, I'm going to color him dark. Okay. And then I'm going to skip one, and then this guy is going to be dark. Okay. And skip one, next one is dark. Okay, skip one. And dark. Skip one, and the last one is dark. Okay, there. And now what I can do is I'm going to rub the whole thing around so that the white is not super white, and this is when I can add in my X's. So this time the X's are double X's. So not only am I going to do an X, but then I'm going to also do another X on top of it. So it's almost like a star. Okay, all the way down, equally spaced on just the white spots and the very top. Okay, so 2 X's together equals a star. Using the point of my pencil so they're sharp. There we go, nice and sharp, prickly. And inside my flower pot on the edges, I'm going to go very dark because it is filled with soil. Okay, right at the front, going darker, and then darkening up the right side of the cactus. And for the finale of this guy, the original had this cute little flower on the side, but when I taught the class the other day, I created another little flower that I fell in love with. So that's what I'm going to do again here. So it starts with light pencil strokes up from my cactus. So right in the middle, I'm going to go straight. Okay, straight. When I go to the left, I start curving my line to the left. Okay, see how I'm curving and flicking. Oop, a couple rogue ones, which is okay. Now I want to go to my right, so I flick to the right. Okay, again, a few little rogue ones don't hurt. Darker at the bottom, just to add a little more creativity, a little more texture and three-dimensionality. There we go, I like that guy. Very nice. And then finally, we are going to shade our flower pot again. So same thing, shading just the center area. Okay, shading. You can go side to side as well, and you can even shade the direction of this curved line up here if you want, or down here. It's up to you. That takes a lot longer, but it looks really cool as well. So I'm shading just the center really dark. Okay, shading, changing direction if you want. And going over it numerous times so it's nice and dark. And then as we come around, I get lighter and lighter until I'm not even touching the sides. And with my trusty blending tools, my fingers, I start rubbing side to side, pushing all of that lead side to side to make it nice and dark. And then I outline and I go carefully so that I don't mess up my line from earlier. And if you want, you can go back and add more darkness if you feel it's not dark enough. I'm adding just a little darkness down on the bottom because it's a little too white there for me. And then you can blend that again. And again, if you go outside of the pots here, it doesn't matter because we're gonna add some darkness down here. Alrighty, our last one. This guy, I call him Ducky. He looks like a duck to me, this guy here. He's a flat cactus, okay, and he comes in 3 parts with a flower on the side. So you have your first body, your second body, and then the little beak. So this is the head and a little tail. It totally looks like a duck, and I didn't even mean it to look like a duck. So that's what we're gonna do. The only difference between this one and this one are there are no lines, okay? And these ones are shaded a little differently because they're flat, so we wanna give that illusion. All right, so let's do him. Okay, so start with the body coming right out of this big flower pot that I did earlier. Start with the body. So it is like a big upside down tear shape. And the great thing is he doesn't have to be centered. He can be off sideways a little bit, okay? There you go. So there's the body. And again, I didn't go all the way down to the top of my flower pot because I'm going to add some dirt in here. Okay, so I am now going to add the head piece, or what I call the head piece. So again, it's about half of this size, and it can be off the center a little bit. Okay, so see how I draw it lightly first and then go back and add a little more to it. Okay, just move my phone so you can see it. And then the very last one comes out the side, and it's about half of this size. And I draw very lightly first, and then I outline it even more after. He's a cool one. We won't do the flower yet. What I'm going to do is shade him first, add the little pricklies, and then you can do the flower. Okay, so I'm going to shade the top one first. It's going to be darker at the bottom. So nice and dark at the bottom. And then progressing lightly right to the center. I'm not going to worry about adding any lead over here because with my finger, I'm going to push that lead back and forth so it looks as though it's slowly blending together. You can go back and do another row and then blend, blend, blend. So they look like they're coming together. And outline to get it nice and clean. And there's my first beak, I call it, the beak. Next one is this guy, and I'm going to shade dark over here on the side. He's flat, so we don't want to show him being too round. We want to show him really being flat. Okay, so shading on the side, up the top a little bit, and then so nice and dark, and then lightly to center, not pressing as hard and not going over it as many times. Maybe go back and shade a little darker there, and then with my trusty blending tools, I'm going to push that into the rest of my cactus and outline that. Take your time outlining, make sure you hit the line that you originally drew. You can always darken up that side a little more if you need to. I'm just going back and darkening it up a little, and I'm darkening up my little beak too. Again, it's personal preference how dark you want it to go. And finally down here, the body, same thing, right hand side, nice and dark. Okay, up into the top a little bit, curve. But again, still nice and dark. And lightening up as you get to the center. And when I get about the center, I'm going to stop. And that's where I'm going to blend, pushing that lead over to the other side. And up and down, switching my fingers so that I use the oils, and then outline the whole entire thing. And again, you can go darker if you want, personal preference. Okay, alrighty, so we have blended, we've shaded, we've blended. Now we get to create our little X's. This time we don't have to worry about lines, but our X's still go in a line. So I'm going to start on this guy over here, the top. I'm going to do X's around the contour. That means the outline all the way around this guy. Nice pricklies. And then I can probably fit one row of pricklies here and one row here. So 2 rows in here, same size. You can curve them slightly if you want, curve the line of your X's. Okay, there. So there's one. I'm gonna do this big guy up here, the beak. So I do the outline first, and And then the inside 2 lines. I guess I could have fit a third one in here if I measured it properly, but it's fine like that. Okay, and now the body X's all the way around. Even though we're going to draw some flowers, I'm still going to X right now, and then we'll come back and finish those flowers. So all the way around. And oops. Put a line down this side, a line down the other side, and then that measures it well so that I can put a nice line right down the middle. There we go. Now this guy has a little flower, okay, just a nice little flower here. We're gonna draw it so it has a little kind of arm and then some petals. We'll have the light petals being the ones closest to us and the dark ones in the back further away from us. So I'm going to draw an oval shape. Half of my oval is going to be on the outside of my cactus and half of it's going to be on the inside. So see my oval there. And again, you can change the direction. It can be on this side, it can be lower. It's up to you. So there's my oval. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a half circle in the top of my oval. Half circle. And I'm going to shade the bottom part of this, just the bottom half. I'm not going to worry about this top half because that's going to create the light for me. So I only shaded the bottom half. And now my flower petals come right out of this middle area. So I'm going to draw a teardrop here or a flower petal here, and I shade the bottom half. And then another teardrop beside it. It can be a little bigger, and I shave the bottom. And you'll notice by shading the bottom, I'm actually covering up the line that I did here, which is perfect. And then another one over here, shade the bottom. And my last one on here, shade the bottom. You can color in this area. And I just put a line in each one just to create, again, another element of the texture. And then on the outside, in between each petal, I drew just a little half circle, and then I filled it right in. Okay, there we go. And you can shade it in a little higher if you want. I'm just kind of decorating my petals. You can add a little highlight to each one if you want. Again, it's personal preference. It's what you kind of like to draw and how you like the look of it. I'm just lightening up because I think I went too dark on my petals because I'm losing my petals, but that's okay. All right, so there is my cactus, my funky duck cactus. Now what I have left to do is to work on the flower pot. So inside the flower pot, again, I'm gonna make those curved 2 lines to show where the soil is. So I'm coloring that in dark along the bottom of that cactus. It doesn't have to be straight. It can be curved, bumpy, like some actual soil. And then I'm going to color in the shaded area where my cactus or my flower pot is to make it turned. Again, I've lost my groove in my pencil, so if that happens, a little trick that I do when I lose the groove in my pencil, I just grab another piece of paper and I rub it really hard, and then it creates the groove for me. Okay, so there's the groove, and as I come around, I get lighter on one side, lighter on the next. next. And then I soften it all with blending with my fingers side to side. And again, you're going outside of your line, that's okay. In the horizon line, you just erase it. If it's down on the bottom, you're gonna be shading in that area anyway. So outlining the back, outlining the front, and you can use some different patterns as well. These are cacti, so there's a lot of cacti in Mexico, and in Mexico they hand make their pottery and do some really awesome designs. They're talavera pots. They're decorative, they're fun, they're multicolored, so you can put in some designs. For this one, I'm just going to put in, you know, a couple of little boxes that kind of run into each other, just to add a little bit more design. They don't have to be anything fancy, just for your own personal, you know, if you like that better. Maybe on this one I'm going to do some dots all along. Again, I'm just having fun. I'm just, you know, doing something silly with my flower pots, which is great to do. You know, it adds another element of design. And then to finish it off, using the side of my pencil, I'm shading in between each one, all the way around up to that horizon line, all the way. If you can sneak in the side right up to the horizon line, just take your time. Okay, up into the horizon, and darker down at the base of each flower pot. So I'm coloring in, but underneath each flower pot I am going a little darker, so I'm going to go over it a few times, and that just gives me the casted shadow of the flower pots. Okay, and then of course we're using our fingers to blend side to side, blend up a little bit. Okay, using my different fingers. If you haven't used a finger on this hand, use it. A pinky, the side of a finger, your thumb, anything. Oops. And then I am going to sign my piece, and I am finished. And that is our cactus. So thank you for joining me. Practice your cacti, make a beautiful scene with them, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to see more. Thanks, bye.